Hey everyone, Jared here checking in.
And Alicia, so good to be with you, Jared.
Welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations.
Yeah.
We're really excited to dive into the third round of our Ultimate Manifestation Showdown series.
Mm-hmm.
This one, for me, it really twists the mind, in the best possible way.
It truly does. Today, we're looking at what might seem like, well, completely opposing philosophies.
Right.
You've got the really profound sort of Zen-infused wisdom we've learned from Alan Watts.
Yeah.
And then the clear, deliberate joy we get from Abraham Hicks.
Big contrast on the surface.
Totally. One seems to say, hey, there's no separate self, just let go.
Mm.
And the other is saying, you are source, so focused, deliberately create.
It's manifestation, but yeah, it feels deeply existential. We're going to explore what these two powerful perspectives really show us about who we are.
Yeah, and what reality actually is.
And even the whole idea of purpose in our lives.
Mm.
We'll even connect it with some, frankly, fascinating insights from modern neuroscience.
Oh, that's going to be good. Showing how this ancient wisdom kind of lines up with what science is finding now.
Exactly. And our mission for you today, our listener, is really to help you navigate these different views.
Which seem contrasting, but maybe aren't.
Right. They might be closer than they first appear. We want you to find your own path, understanding that maybe letting go is the ultimate deliberate creation.
Ooh, I like that. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with Alan Watts. Some of the remarkable insights we've gathered from him.
He's great, like a philosophical jazz solo, someone called him.
Huh, that's perfect. Playful, improvisational, always takes you somewhere unexpected.
Definitely.
Watts challenged some of those really core conventional Western ideas and offered, well, a perspective that felt pretty liberating for a lot of people.
Yeah, and to really get Watts, you kind of need to picture the time, step back a bit. Think post-World War II America. So like early 50s through the early 70s.
Okay.
You've got this boom, right? Suburbs popping up, TVs in every house. But underneath all that prosperity and maybe conformity.
Yeah, this sort of button-down era.
Exactly. Yeah. There was this this gnawing anxiety, the Cold War, nuclear threat looming, and just this feeling that something was missing.
Right. Like, is this really it?
Precisely. People wanted meaning beyond just, consumerism. Artists, thinkers, people exploring spirituality. They were asking that exact question.
And right into that moment, you get this voice. British accent, captivating. First in smoky cafes in San Francisco, apparently. Then universities, and even broadcast radio. Alan Watts.
So what was it about him? What made him connect so strongly then, especially heading into, say, 1967, the Summer of Love, that whole vibe shift?
Well, I think what made Watts so unique, really, was his ability to be a bridge.
Yeah.
He was this former Anglican priest.
Right, which is interesting in itself.
Totally. But he'd immersed himself deeply in Eastern philosophy, especially Taoism, Zen Buddhism. And he didn't just explain it academically. He translated it, made these ancient, sometimes really paradoxical ideas feel relevant, accessible to a Western audience that was often stuck in, rigid dogma or just pure scientific materialism.
No, not a guru figure, exactly.
No, not really. He was more like, I don't know, a philosophical jazz musician, playful, improvisational. He'd riff on these huge ideas.
I like that.
Yeah, and just kind of blow people's minds. He'd say things like, you are the universe experiencing itself.
Or trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth, stuff that just stops you in your tracks.
Yeah.
So he really resonated with a generation searching for alternatives, a different way of looking at things.
So in a culture obsessed with control, self-improvement, always becoming something.
Which we still kind of are, right?
Oh, absolutely. Watts' message must have felt like a splash of cold water. He wasn't about manifesting a better toast or whatever. He was saying something way more radical, like, hey, maybe there is no separate you. Stop trying to grab the river, just float. That's a huge leap.
It really is.
So this deep dive, let's unpack that. Let's see what his radical wisdom means for us now.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The self.
Yeah, let's start right there. That concept that feels so solid, the I. The voice in our head, our personality, the ego. We really do see ourselves as these separate little drivers inside the machine of the body.
We do. It feels fundamental.
But Watts just kind of blew that up, didn't he? How did he suggest we rethink that feels so me?
He totally did. He basically said, look, trying to pin down who you are in that fixed way, It's baffling.
Like biting your own teeth.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
his famous analogy. Or trying to touch your fingertip with the same finger. It's too close. You can't get perspective.
Okay.
He saw the I, the ego, not as some like unchanging core thing, but more as a social construct. A
Concept. Or an inch.
Yeah, precisely. Useful concepts, we need them to function, but they aren't things you can point to in the physical world.
Nope.
Or he'd use the word persona.
From Greek theater, right? The mask.
Exactly. The mask actor's war. So in a way, he'd say our real person is a kind of genuine fake.
Whoa, okay. Unpack genuine fake.
Well, it means the personality, the I we identify with, it's kind of the front we present, the role we learn to play in society. It's genuine in that it's our performance, but fake in that it's not some solid, unchanging entity behind the mask. Which sounds maybe negative, but he meant it as liberating. If it's a role, a performance, you don't have to be so rigidly attached to it. You're freed from this constant pressure to be someone specific. You can just be the process.
Okay, so the real you isn't that fixed mask, that ego.
Yeah.
It's a flow, a process.
Yes. A continuous, ever-changing pattern of activity.
I love his analogies for this. The whirlpool in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the whirlpool that has a shape, but the water making it up is totally new moment by moment.
Where the candle flame looks constant, right. But it's just this continuous stream of hot gas.
Right. So the only constant thing about us is the doing, the dancing.
The dance itself, our behavior, our pattern, it really takes the pressure off needing to be some static thing.
So if we only focus on the part we think we consciously control, that little I.
Yeah, that myopic view, he called it.
Right. Then it feels like everything else just happens to us. Like, I didn't decide to beat my heart or digest my lunch.
Exactly. We feel disconnected from those processes,
Mm.
but they aren't controlled by that conscious I either.
Mm.
Watts invites us to see it all, conscious, unconscious, voluntary, involuntary, as part of one larger, incredibly intelligent process. A process that we are. Even if we can't wrap our minds around it completely, it's the whole pattern.
Okay, so if we aren't fixed things but flowing processes,
Yeah.
does that change how we see reality itself? Does the universe also become less like a collection of objects and more like a dance?
That's exactly where he takes it. He argued our usual Western view of reality is built on, like, outdated myths.
Myths? Like what?
Well, he talked about the ceramic model.
Mm.
You know, God as a potter, making us out of clay. We're separate from the creator.
Okay, yeah.
Then science comes along and we get the fully automatic model. God's replaced by this blind, unintelligent force, a mechanical universe, clockwork.
Right.
But in both models, Watt said, we end up feeling like accidents, isolated, alienated from the cosmos, either puppets or just random bits of machinery.
And he's saying it's neither. The universe isn't made of stuff. That
Blink
sounds
drop.
counterintuitive.
It totally is. But he'd point to physics. When scientists look closer and closer, what do they find? Not some basic goo, some fundamental stuff.
They find.
More pattern, more structure, energy, vibrations, relationships. He used the analogy of a newspaper photo. Get really close, and it's just dots. Meaningless.
Right. Little black and white dots.
But step back and you see a face, an image, coherent, meaningful. The universe, he said, isn't things. It's a self-moving, self-designing pattern. It's a dance.
And crucially, no thing dancing, just the dancing itself.
You got it. That's the core idea.
Which ties into his idea about the fallacy of misplaced concreteness.
Exactly. Explain that one.
It's like we take our ways of thinking, our labels, our categories,
Yeah.
like dividing the world into separate objects with words.
Like chopping up a chicken to talk about the wing and the leg.
Yeah. And then we forget that those divisions are our mental cuts, and we start believing reality itself is those separate bits.
Yeah.
We mistake the labels for the actual thing.
Precisely. We impose our neat little boxes onto a reality that, as Watts loved to say, is fundamentally wiggly.
Wiggly, I love
Yeah, think about it. Clouds, mountains, coastlines, trees, people. Where are the exact dividing lines? Nature flows. It's continuous.
Our mental divisions are useful, obviously. We need them.
Oh, absolutely. For analysis, communication, building things. But they aren't the fundamental reality. They're like lines of latitude and longitude on a map.
Essential for navigation.
But you wouldn't expect to actually trip over the equator line when you cross it.
Right. Don't confuse the map with the territory.
That's the essence of it.
Okay, this next one. This is a biggie for a lot of us,
Mm.
especially in our culture. This idea of purpose. Life is a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
A serious pilgrimage towards some goal at the end.
Mm-hmm. Success, enlightenment, the dream house, heaven,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah. Always striving, always looking ahead, thinking the real thing, the great payoff, is coming later.
Watts had some great names for that. The rat race, the squirrel cage.
Yeah.
We live like we're constantly on our way somewhere else, gotta get there. But he'd just kind of stop you and say, but you're already there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've cheated ourselves the whole way down the line by always focusing on the destination, not the journey itself.
He even asked things like, why survive? What's that for? Which sounds bleak, maybe, but wasn't meant that way.
Not at all. He wasn't being nihilistic. He was questioning the assumption that life's only value lies in some future result or just continuing itself indefinitely.
So this idea of purposelessness he talks about, it sounds kind of liberating, but maybe also aimless. Like if there's no goal, why bother? How did he square that?
Yeah, that's where people can misunderstand him. He wasn't saying be apathetic, do nothing. Not at all.
Okay.
In fact, he suggested that our obsession with finding a purpose, with striving, often comes from a deep mistrust. A mistrust of nature outside us, and maybe even our own nature inside us.
Huh. Mistrust. How so?
Well, if you don't trust the natural flow of things, you feel you have to constantly control everything, impose your will.
Which can lead to trying to dominate nature.
Yeah, environmental problems.
Right.
Or just endless bureaucracy in society, right? Always needing systems to control the controllers, guarding the guards, as he put it.
Okay. So instead of that control, he offers purposelessness. And that's a good thing.
For him, it was the highest compliment because it implies intrinsic value. It's not for something else, it just is. Think about music. Do you listen to a symphony just to get to the final crashing chord as fast as possible?
No, of course not. You enjoy the whole thing.
Or dancing. Do you dance just to arrive at a particular spot on the floor?
No, the point is the dancing itself.
Exactly. The meaning, the value is in the activity moment by moment, not deferred to some endpoint. It's all about the present, the now.
Yeah.
That's the only time that actually exists anyway.
So the drive comes from the joy of the activity, not chasing a future prize.
Yes, that's a radical shift.
Life then is basically playful. I remember him saying that. Like a cosmic game of hide and seek.
The universe playing, surprising itself, pretending to forget who it is. It's a much lighter, more joyful way to look at existence than a constant struggle towards a goal.
Definitely feels lighter.
And this connects directly to his idea of interconnectedness, how we aren't really separate.
Right. The skin isn't a barrier.
No, it's more like an osmotic membrane. Porous, permeable, a vibrating surface where the outside world flows in and through us.
So we aren't like billiard balls bouncing in an environment.
We're more like whirlpools of the environment itself. We arise from it.
Okay. So everything is connected, interdependent, not just poetically, but like actually.
Fundamentally, yeah. His example of bees and flowers is great.
They look totally different.
But they're basically one single organism, right?
Right.
The bee needs the flower's nectar. The flower needs the bee for pollination. They co-create each other.
Wow, yeah.
And that applies everywhere. Big depends on small. Small depends on big.
Okay.
The external world isn't really external. It's as much you as your own heartbeat.
That's a lot to take in. The environment and me are one single process.
A unified field, yeah. Watts would say the universe does you, it creates you. And at the exact same time, you do it. You participate in creating it.
So there aren't really separate parts. That's just our way of thinking.
Parts are ideas, abstractions we use. Useful but abstract. Trace anything back far enough, and it's connected to everything else. Inseparable.
And this leads to the really mind-bending bit. You are the universe experiencing itself.
There it is.
Like an apple tree apples.
The planet peoples.
Okay, so my existence isn't some random fluke. It's a symptom of the universe, an expression of what it is.
Exactly. And because space is curved, this was a point he liked. Every single point can be seen as the center.
So I feel like the center.
And you are, but so is everyone else. So is that chair. So is that star.
Whoa, okay. Humbling, but also kind of amazing. Empowering.
Right. It connects back to that cosmic hide-and-seek game.
The universe pretending to be separate things.
Playing at being other, forgetting itself. Just to keep things interesting, to experience everything, or seemingly separate lives, struggles, joys. It's all part of the play, the universe putting on an incredible show for itself.
And if you really grasp that, even a little, then trying to control everything seems kind of pointless.
Or at least based on a false premise. The real power, the real control, Watts suggested, comes from letting go of that illusion of the separate controller, trusting the flow.
It's not about being passive, though. Not just giving up.
No, it's about alignment, becoming deeply aligned with the process that you already are. When you stop wasting energy fighting reality, defending that fragile ego.
All that energy becomes available.
Exactly. You align with what he called the divine principle. Not necessarily a personified God, but the inherent intelligence, the organizing pattern of the universe itself, which works whether we interfere or not.
And then you see life isn't this problem you have to solve.
No, it's this magnificent illusion, this big act, a cosmic firework display of energy, pure, spontaneous happening.
And when you stop overthinking it, trying to pin it down, and just feel
It's all just jazz.
Yes.
Yeah. Marvelous, maybe ultimately meaningless in the sense of having no external goal, but that's the best kind of meaningless. It's wonderful, spontaneous, improvised, and the joy is entirely in the playing.
So to recap Watts, dissolve the rigid ideas of a fixed self, a reality made of stuff, and a life needing some grand future purpose.
Yeah. See yourself as a flow, part of the universe's wiggly, playful dance.
Okay. Powerful stuff. Now let's briefly touch on Abraham Hicks again. We've covered this a lot before.
Right. Core ideas. We're powerful creators, extensions of source energy.
Emotions are our guide.
Our vibrational guidance system, yeah. And by deliberately focusing, aligning with what we desire.
We manifest it. Conscious intention, joyful expectation, allow
our vibration to match what we want. It's very active, very focused.
So Watts says let go. Abraham often says focus. That's the core tension, right?
Seems like it. But what happens when you put them side by side? How do they actually mesh?
This is the fun part, the philosophical face-off.
Okay, so Watts. No separate self. Ego's an illusion. Universe is doing you. Let go. Trust the flow. Life's a dance. No destination needed.
In Abraham, you are source. You're the creator. Focus deliberately. Use intention. Align. Create your desires purposefully.
Seems like opposites, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
But is there a unifying thread?
I think so. Despite the different language, both paths seem to lead towards, well, a sense of unity, quieting that noisy ego.
Okay.
Well, remember Watts describing the universe as that self-moving, self-designing pattern? Just the dancing.
Yeah.
Abraham's focus on alignment and allowing. Isn't that about getting into the flow of that dance, not fighting against the current?
Ah, interesting. So focusing to align is a form of letting go of resistance.
Exactly. And think about Watts's wasted energy, the energy spent on ego defense, forcing things. Isn't that pretty much what Abraham calls resistance? That energy drain keeping you out of alignment.
Yeah, it really is. So when you let go of that resistance,
or that wasted energy, it becomes available. You align, you allow.
So maybe surrender and deliberate focus aren't enemies.
Maybe they're two sides of the same coin, both guiding us towards a deeper connection with that underlying flow, that universal intelligence.
Wow. Okay, let's bring in the science now. Ground this a bit. Because modern neuroscience actually has some fascinating things to say here.
It really does. Let's talk about the default mode network, the DMN.
Right, the brain's inner narrator.
Pretty much. It's the network that gives us that strong sense of I, me, mine. It's super active when our minds are wandering, thinking about ourselves, ruminating on the past or future.
The constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull, as Watts put it.
Exactly that. And what neuroscience is showing is that practices like meditation,
or even some altered states.
And interestingly, the kind of focused attention Abraham talks about can actually quiet down the DMN.
Really? So focus can quiet the self-chatter, too.
It seems so. And when the DMN quiets down, well, that can lead to what Watts called ego dissolution.
That softening of the separate self.
Or what Abraham might call alignment. The stories we tell ourselves fade out.
And something else gets louder.
Yeah. Watts said when you stop thinking, you get an immediate contact with the unspeakable world. The world without the labels.
And it becomes amazingly interesting.
Doesn't it just? Then there's neuroplasticity.
The brain's ability to change itself.
Incredible adaptability. Our brains aren't fixed hardware. They're constantly rewiring based on our focus and experience.
So whether you're practicing letting go, like Watts suggests,
or deliberately tuning in, like Abraham teaches,
you're literally reshaping your brain.
Exactly. Which means our perception of reality, even our sense of self, isn't set in stone. We're constantly, often without realizing it, rewiring how we experience everything.
Watts would remind us, that you are the most complex thing we know.
And you can't fully figure yourself out, like a knife cutting itself.
Right. But the brain has this amazing capacity for pattern recognition, for solving things instantly without words.
An intuitive knowing.
So science kind of gives us the mechanics behind these spiritual insights. It shows how shifting focus, whether through surrender or intention, can change our whole experience from feeling fragmented.
To feeling unified and flowing. It's pretty cool.
It really is. Okay, so let's tackle something we hear a lot from you listeners, a kind of debug alert.
Manifestation debug mode.
Think of it like running diagnostics.
Exactly. It's a way to find those hidden blocks, those limiting beliefs that might be, like, messing with your abundance signal.
Clearing out the static, finding the glitches in your programming, things running in the background you don't even realize are there. Let's switch on manifestation debug mode.
Okay. Activating debug mode.
I'm trying to let go, but I still care about the outcome. Does that mean I'm failing?
Or I want to detach, but I still want things. Am I just spiritually shallow?
And our answer, drawing from both Watts and Abraham, is nope.
Not at all. It just makes you human. Wonderfully Wi-Fi connected human.
And the combined wisdom here gives us such a beautiful answer. You can care. Just care gently.
Gently. I love that. Explain the nuance.
Well, Watts taught that the universe is playful, right? Not striving for some endpoint. He encouraged an attitude where you are not trying to get anything out of the moment.
Just enjoy the pebble on the beach for its own sake.
Exactly. No need for a sermon from it. Just appreciate it.
And Abraham.
Abraham teaches deliberate creation, yes, but also emphasizes allowing, releasing resistance.
Which isn't about not wanting.
No. It's about wanting without that desperate needing. Without, as you said, strangling it with need.
Okay. So let the desire be there, but let it dance.
Let it be a whisper, maybe, not a scream. That's the sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Vibrational allowing meets spiritual surrender.
Caring gently.
Yeah. And maybe the deeper truth underneath all of it, from both perspectives, is that you kind of have it already.
Oh, so.
Well, maybe we don't know what we truly want because on some level, we already possess the essence of it. And we don't know ourselves because the ultimate reality, the Godhead, as Watts might say, can't be an object of its own knowing. It just is.
Wow. That takes the pressure off.
Doesn't it? And letting go of that need to control, Watts observed, gives us this access of power. Why? Because we stop wasting energy defending the ego.
The more you give it away, the more comes back.
It's not weakness, he'd say. It's wisdom. It's the highest form of trust.
Caring gently, trusting the flow while holding a light intention.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked a lot. Let's take a moment now to really feel this.
Integrate these ideas.
We want to guide you through a short visualization just to help these concepts land in your own being. So find a comfortable spot.
And if it feels safe for you, go ahead and close your eyes.
We'll just let these concepts wash over us now. Settle into the rhythm of the words.
Take a deep, unhurried breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth.
Again.
Inhale peace.
Exhale needing to know.
Now just imagine yourself standing outside a kind of speakeasy jazz lounge. It's glowing, maybe gold and lavender light, pulsing softly in the night like a heartbeat from somewhere else.
There's a sign above the velvet rope. It simply reads, "Welcome to the Cosmic Lounge." No ego, no cover.
The bouncer, maybe a shimmering orb of wisdom, just nods. Lets you in. No ID needed. You've always been eternal after all.
You step inside.
Plush velvet seats curve like galaxies around you. A saxophone somewhere is dripping notes sweet like honey into the candlelit air.
People are laughing softly. Sipping Stardust cocktails, maybe? Swapping stories from lives they barely recall.
And right in the center of the lounge, there's a mirror. But it's different. It shimmers with something deeper.
You walk towards it slowly. You sit down in front of it.
Look into it now.
At first, you just see your reflection. Familiar, earthly, maybe a little tired, maybe a little hopeful.
But then it starts to shift.
The edges of your form ripple like sunlight on water. Your features soften. Your name just kind of dissolves.
You become light. You become a field of awareness. You become the music, the rhythm, that vibration that's always been humming underneath everything.
Let go of who you think you are.
Let go of what you think you want.
You are not the thoughts. You are the thinker.
You are not the waves. You are the ocean.
And from this beautiful, timeless place you remember.
There's nowhere to go.
Nothing to fix.
Nothing to force.
Desire doesn't vanish. It just changes shape. It becomes more like a dance, less like a demand.
A love note instead of a to-do list.
So ask yourself now, just gently,
What if I didn't need to grasp this moment?
what if this is the manifestation already?
What if floating is creating?
Just sit with those questions. Feel the warm golden glow of the cosmic lounge. Maybe sip a little stardust. Lean back into that seat of awareness.
And when you feel ready, the mirror softly closes. The saxophone fades into the background. The door to the lounge swings open again.
You step back into your life,
Yeah.
but maybe something shifted. You carry that vibe with you now.
A gentle detachment?
A joyful alignment.
A kind of groovy knowing.
Take one last breath in.
And exhale feeling light, open, and maybe just a little more cosmic.
You're back. Welcome back, everyone.
That was lovely. A nice little journey.
It always is, isn't it? A unique unfolding each time. So what did we really learn from this cosmic combo platter, this mix of Watts and Abraham?
Well, Watts really shows us how to let go of that illusion of control, right?
Yeah, trust the purposeless flow.
Yeah.
Recognize our self isn't fixed, it's a pattern, an expression of everything.
And Abraham guides us towards that empowered, joyful creation, using focus, alignment.
Remembering we are source energy, co-creating what happens.
And the science. It actually backs both approaches, which is wild.
The DMN, neuroplasticity, shows focus and surrender can literally change your brain and how you perceive things.
A neurological dance mirroring the cosmic one. Love that.
So the simple message maybe is just, there's no single right way.
To manifest, or even just to be, sometimes you float, sometimes you paddle.
And sometimes you realize you were on a lazy river the whole time anyway.
Exactly.
Which is a really profound shift, isn't it? Liberating. Recognizing you're not just in the universe.
You are the universe experiencing itself. Dancing, dreaming, surprising itself every moment.
Yeah. Well, if this deep dive gave you a fresh perspective, or just made your brain do a happy little flip,
Please share it with a friend, especially one torn between, Buddhist philosophy and vision boards.
you can listen to all the deep dives in our Ultimate Manifestation Showdown series on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your audio goodness.
Please hit subscribe, maybe leave us a review. It helps us keep bridging that gap between the woo-woo and the whoa that's true.
And if you haven't already, come hang out with us on Instagram or sign up for the newsletter on the website.
We've got more cosmic face-offs planned. Next up is Napoleon Hill versus Florence Scovel-Shinn. That'll be interesting.
Oh, definitely. Looking forward to that one. We'll see you next time on Vibrations and Manifestations.